deep silence of space, our planet looks timeless. A blue and white sphere, turning slowly in the dark, as if nothing ever truly changes. But if we could rewind the Earth's clock, not by centuries or millennia, but by tens of millions of years, we would arrive in a world that feels almost alien. A world ruled by giants. A world of thunderous footsteps, of forests stretching farther than any human I had ever seen, of skies filled with winged reptiles and oceans dominated by colossal predators. This was the age of the dinosaurs, and one day it ended. The story of dinosaur extinction is not just about how a group of animals disappeared. It is about how fragile life can be, even when it seems invincible. For over 150 million years, dinosaurs were the undisputed rulers of the land. While our own mammalian ancestors were small, cautious creatures hiding in the shadows, dinosaurs grew in every shape and size imaginable, occupying almost every environment on Earth. They were the apex predators, the towering herbivores, the fast runners, the armored tanks, the horned defenders. They were, in every sense, the masters of their world. If you could walk through a late Cretaceous forest around 66 million years ago, you would feel that dominance in every direction. The air would be thick, warm, and moist, carrying the calls of distant animals and the rustling of enormous ferns. Towering conifers and flowering plants would form a dense canopy. Under that canopy, herds of horned dinosaurs like Triceratops would move slowly, their frills and horns casting long shadows on the ground. Farther away, gigantic duck-billed dinosaurs would graze, ripping leaves and twigs with powerful jaws. And somewhere nearby, perhaps unseen at first, a massive predator like Tyrannosaurus Rex would stand still, watching, listening, scenting the wind. There is no hint in that world, no warning sign etched into the sky that its reign is nearing its end. Life, as always, simply continues. The day-to-day struggle for food, survival, reproduction. Above them, birds glide and call. At their feet, smaller animals run between roots, feeding on insects and fallen seeds. The planet has already endured countless changes, shifting continents, rising mountains, fluctuating climates. Yet through all of it, dinosaurs persisted. They adapted. They survived. There was no reason to believe they would not continue to do so. And then, in what is geologically the blink of an eye, something happened. The cause of dinosaur extinction is not one single moment, even though, in our minds, we are drawn to a single catastrophic image, a fiery rock plunging through the atmosphere. Reality is more complex, more gradual, and in some ways, more terrifying. Still, our story has a focal point in time, a boundary etched into the very rocks of our planet. The line between the Cretaceous period and the Paleogene period, known to scientists as the K-PG boundary. Above that line, dinosaur fossils disappear. Below it, they are everywhere. To understand how we get to that line, we must first understand the forces building in the background. Millions of years before the final extinction, the Earth was already restless. Deep beneath the surface, vast plumes of molten rock began to rise. In what is now India, enormous volcanic eruptions called the Deccan Traps started pouring lava onto the surface in unimaginably vast quantities. Layer upon layer of basaltic rock built up over time, in some places forming stacks of cooled lava kilometers thick. Each eruption released gas into the atmosphere, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, altering climate, affecting temperatures, acidifying rain. Over hundreds of thousands of years, these eruptions likely put stress on ecosystems around the globe. Some species adapted, others began to decline. But even these staggering eruptions were still part of a long, slow process. Life had seen volcanism before. Ecosystems have been reshaped and reborn again and again in the deep past. If the Deccan Traps were the only problem, dinosaurs might well have survived the changes, perhaps altered in form, but still present. They had endured continental breakups, changing sea levels, and shifting climates. They were resilient. They were tested many times by Earth's instability, and they had always come through. Then, one day, something new arrived. Not from below, but from above. High over the Earth, in the cold emptiness of space. A large asteroid had been orbiting the sun for a time longer than humanity has existed. Its path was indifferent, its movement governed only by gravity and momentum. It had no intention, no purpose, no plan. But its trajectory and the Earth's orbit intersected at a single, fateful point in time. 66 million years ago, that intersection became reality. Imagine, for a moment, that you're standing somewhere near what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. You do not know that, beneath your feet, the shallow sea hides a destination. The day begins like any other in the late Cretaceous. The sky is bright. Clouds drift lazily. Pterosaurs glide overhead. Somewhere inland, dinosaurs move through forests and open plains, searching for food and water. Then, high in the sky, far beyond what any eye can see, a point of light begins to grow. As the asteroid enters Earth's atmosphere, it is traveling at tens of thousands of kilometers per hour. The air in front of it is compressed and heated to enormous temperatures. To an observer, it would appear as a blinding, growing fireball streaking across the heavens. In just a few seconds, it crosses the sky and slams into the shallow ocean. The energy released in that moment is greater than that of billions of Hiroshima-sized nuclear bombs. The sea boils instantly at the impact site. Rocks and water are vaporized. The ground heaves and tears. Shock waves travel through the crust of the Earth. A crater more than 150 kilometers wide and many kilometers deep is carved into the planet's surface. The immediate effects are indescribably violent. Any life, even remotely near the impact site, is erased in an instant. Gigantic tsunamis surge outward, racing toward distant coastlines at incredible speeds. Forests are uprooted, animals are swept away. But this is only the beginning. The true impact of the asteroid does not come from the crater itself, but from what is thrown into the sky. The collision ejects vast amounts of pulverized rock, dust, and sulfur-rich material high into the atmosphere, even into the stratosphere. Some of this debris circles the planet, forming a global veil. Not all of it remains slow and gentle. Some pieces of molten rock are thrown so high that they fall back across the globe as incandescent projectiles. They rain down, heating the air. Trees and plants catch fire. Enormous wildfires spread across continents. The very surface of the Earth, in many regions, becomes a landscape of flame. For the dinosaurs, the hours after the impact are a time of confusion and terror. Those that are not instantly killed by shock waves, tsunamis, or fires still face a world that is quickly transformed. The sky darkens, not with clouds of water vapor, but with dust, soot, and aerosols. Daylight dims. Temperatures begin to drop. Within weeks, perhaps months, the Earth enters a kind of nuclear winter. The process is brutal in its simplicity. Incoming sunlight is blocked or greatly reduced by the haze in the atmosphere. Plants, deprived of light, cannot photosynthesize efficiently. Many of them die or enter states of extreme stress. The primary layer of the food chain begins to collapse. Herbivorous dinosaurs, which depended on abundant vegetation, find less and less to eat. Their bodies, adapted for massive intake, now struggle to find enough energy. Many grow thinner, weaker. Disease and starvation spread among the herds. Predators like Tyrannosaurus rex, which seemed so invincible in the world before, are now trapped with them in the same unraveling web. Their prey is disappearing. Juveniles struggle to grow. Adults fight not just for dominance, but for survival itself. Around them, the forests thin, the air grows colder, and the seasons become unpredictable. Nothing is as it was before. The oceans, too, are changing. Plankton, which form the base of many marine food webs, suffer from the lack of sunlight and from changes in the chemistry of the water. Acid rain, generated by chemicals ejected into the atmosphere, falls into rivers and seas, altering pH levels. Some marine reptiles, already stressed before the impact, vanish entirely. Coral reefs are damaged or destroyed. Food chains collapse in the depths as well as on land. Yet not all life disappears. Some plants manage to survive as seeds or in sheltered regions. Some animals burrow underground or retreat into caves. Some can enter states of torpor or hibernation, allowing them to tolerate long periods of scarcity. Small mammals, in particular, seem to have held advantages in this shattered world. They required less food. They could eat a wide variety of things: insects, seeds, dead matter. They could hide, and they could reproduce quickly. Birds, which are now understood to be the descendants of certain theropod dinosaurs, also managed to find a way through the crisis. Not all bird lineages survive, but some do. Their small size, their ability to fly, and their varied diets may have given them an edge. Where giants fell, smaller, more adaptable creatures endured. For the large non-avian dinosaurs, however, the world does not return to the way it was. Over the course of years, then thousands of years, the dust and aerosols slowly settle out of the atmosphere. Sunlight returns. The climate stabilizes into something different but livable. New plants begin to spread across the continents, including grasses that will later support vast herds of mammals. But by then, the great dinosaurs are gone, having failed to bridge the gap of that dark, lean time after the impact their line ends. The last of them die out, leaving only bones and footprints as their final signatures on the Earth. When we look at the rock layers around the world that correspond to this extinction event, we see a sharp change. Below the boundary, a rich abundance of dinosaur fossils, teeth, bones, eggs, footprints. Above it, they are missing. Instead, we find the remains of animals and plants that would come to define a new age. The age of mammals, of birds, of flowering plants spreading across open grasslands. It is as if one book has closed and another has suddenly opened. And yet, the story of dinosaur extinction is not simply one of sudden destruction. It is also a story of deep time, of slow recovery, of evolution stepping into a vacuum. In the wake of the extinction, countless ecological niches are left empty. Where there were once horned dinosaurs, now there's room for new plant eaters. Where there were armored giants, there is room for something else. On continents across the world, mammals begin to diversify. Some grow larger. Some become specialized hunters, others grazers, still others burrowers or climbers. Had the dinosaurs survived, it is possible that mammals might have remained small and relatively insignificant. Without the asteroid, the world might still be ruled by reptilian giants. But fate, or rather physics and probability, chose a different path. The end of the dinosaurs created the conditions for another rise. Eventually, the rise of primates, and much later, the rise of humans. There is a quiet irony in this. The asteroid that extinguished the dinosaurs not only ended their world, it made ours possible. Without that mass extinction, we might not be here at all to wonder about them, to dig up their bones, to reconstruct their skeletons, to imagine their world in books and films. The same event that brought them to an end gave us our beginning. But the mechanism of their extinction also carries a warning for us. It reminds us how vulnerable life on Earth can be to sudden global change. A single impact from space was enough to end the reign of animals that had thrived for over 150 million years. Their power, their sharp teeth, their thick armor, their horns, their speed, none of it could protect them from a darkened sky and a failing food chain. In a sense, they were not just victims of an asteroid. They were victims of a disrupted climate system. Today, we are the dominant species. We have spread across every continent, altered landscapes, harnessed energy, built cities, and even sent machines beyond our own world. Yet our power does not place us outside the web of life. We, too, depend on stable climates, functioning ecosystems, and reliable food chains. The dinosaurs' fate whispers to us across millions of years, a reminder that no dominance is guaranteed and no age lasts forever. If we stand in a modern museum looking up at the reconstructed skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus rex, we are not just looking at the bones of a predator. We are looking at the remains of an entire vanished world. Every vertebra, every rib, every tooth hints at a life lived in a rich, complex ecosystem that no longer exists. The forests, the sounds, the other creatures, all of them gone. What we have are fragments, fossils, chemical traces in rocks, thin layers of iridium in the geologic record left behind by extraterrestrial dust. Through these fragments, scientists have spent decades piecing together the events surrounding dinosaur extinction. There was debate for many years about the relative roles of volcanism, climate change, and the asteroid. But today, the asteroid impact is widely regarded as the principal trigger for the mass extinction that ended the dinosaurs' reign, with volcanic activity perhaps worsening the crisis both before and after. It is not a story of a simple cause and effect, but a convergence of factors. A planet already stressed, then struck by a catastrophe from the heavens. There is something profoundly humbling in that story. It tells us that sometimes the greatest changes in the history of life are not carefully gradual, but sudden and unpredictable. It tells us that life is both fragile and resilient. Fragile in the face of sudden disaster, yet resilient enough to recover, to reinvent itself, to produce new forms from the ashes of the old. Dinosaurs did not vanish as a punishment or as a moral lesson. Nature is not moral in that way. Their extinction was the result of physical forces, the collision of rock and planet, the filtering of light through a dusty sky, the inability of large, specialized creatures to weather a period of scarcity. But for us, their story can carry meaning. It can remind us that our own place in Earth's history is brief, that we live on a world shaped by chance events and slow transformations, and that what seems permanent today may, in deep time, be as fleeting as a single heartbeat. If we could stand at the edge of that ancient crater just after the impact, watching the sky darken and the world begin to cool, we might feel only despair. It would look like the end of everything. Yet from that devastation, new beginnings eventually emerged. Tiny creatures survived in burrows and shadows. Plants found new ways to grow. Ecosystems reassembled themselves, slowly, over millions of years. Out of loss came renewal. Out of extinction came evolution's next chapter. And so, when we ask, how did the dinosaurs die? We are also, in a way, asking another question. How did we come to be? Their end and our beginning are written in the same chapter of Earth's story. One era closes, another opens. The age of reptiles makes way for the age of mammals. The great thunder lizards leave the stage, And much later, humans appear, small, curious, fragile, yet capable of looking back across millions of years and understanding, at least partially, what happened. Today, the descendants of some dinosaurs still fly above us in the form of birds. In their bones, in their feathers, in their behaviors, we can still trace lines back to the ancient world that once was. Every time a bird takes flight, it is, in a subtle way, a remnant of the age of dinosaurs continuing into the present. Not all dinosaurs died. Some simply changed, adapted, and became something new. The dramatic extinction that ended the dinosaurs' rule is often painted as a tragedy. And from their perspective, perhaps it was. But it is also part of the great, ongoing experiment of life on Earth. An experiment that has no script, full of unexpected turns, extinctions, and radiations. Dinosaurs dominated for a span far longer than humans have existed. They were not a failure. They were one of evolution's greatest successes. Their extinction is not a mark against them. It is simply a turn in the story. As we stand here now, with our cities, our technology, our telescopes, and our scientific instruments, we are able to reconstruct this story with extraordinary detail. We can find a crater. We can measure the layers of rock. We can analyze the chemistry that records the moment of impact. We can model the climate effects, estimate the darkness of the sky, the depth of the cold. In understanding how the dinosaurs died, we learn not only about them, but about our planet, our environment, and the forces that shape all life. The world that lost its dinosaurs did not lose its potential. It simply shifted that potential into new forms. Today, we live in the aftermath of that shift. We walk on ground they once walked upon. We breathe air that once carried their roars. We study their fossils, display their skeletons, and tell their stories to our children. They are gone, but they are not forgotten. Their extinction is etched into the Earth's memory, and now into ours. In the end, the story of dinosaur extinction is a reminder that nothing in nature is permanent, not even supremacy. It is a reminder that crisis and opportunity are intertwined in evolution's long march. And it is an invitation to see ourselves not as masters of the Earth, but as temporary participants in a planetary story that began long before us and will continue long after we are gone. We look back at the dinosaurs with awe, with curiosity, with a touch of sadness. But perhaps we should also look forward, with humility, with awareness, and with a deeper respect for the delicate balance that sustains life, knowing that somewhere above us, in the cold, dark of space, countless objects still move along silent paths, and the universe remains, as it always has been, both beautiful and indifferent.